Welcome to another Company Fears 2 replay cast. This time we're going to have a 1v1 on Crossroads, as you can see, and Crossroads is literally one of my least favorite maps in the game, so yeah, this is going to be great. It's going to be between, over here, Wolfgang Grail playing as the Wehrmacht, and on the opposing side we're going to have Cheeky Me Breaky playing as the USF, who sent in the replay. As you can see, Wolfgang Grail doesn't have any bulletins, so you can already tell the quality of this match. Just kidding. And, well, Crossroads, I dislike the map. It's very, very annoying to play in. But let's, regardless, jump right into it. Fuel point on the left side is in a graveyard, so that's pretty much already a pretty good omen of what's going to happen there, because that point and also the other fuel point are very well harassable by both sides, and so there's usually quite a lot of fighting that happens over them. The victory points are pretty standard, easy to harass, especially the one in the center, always very contested, so no real weird stuff. Munitions points, very much close to the base with a cutoff type road available to both sides in case they decide to actually run in the negative cover for, well, pretty much like 20 seconds to get up there. So yeah, if you can manage to do that, then you're going to have a pretty good cutoff. We see that Wolfgang Rail is going for a machine gun. In fact, 2 machine guns coming out of him at the start of the game. No tier 1 yet for him. So we will see. We will see. 2 rifleman squads from Cheeky Me Breaky, who has decided to select the Rifle Company. Rifle Company obviously pretty good at, well, not much after the nerf, but still pretty decent for the Easy 8 and for clearing out buildings with the M2 flamethrower that you can get on the lovely rear echelon troops. Very cheap, very effective with the flamethrower against buildings, but again, still 60 munitions. These riflemen are not capping because you probably decided to tell them to go here, and so they went and automatically went over to cover. Now he realizes that, and that's, yeah, very annoying. It always happens to me as well, so sucks to be you, but nothing really he could have done there. 3rd machine gun actually coming out of Wolfgang, and a Pioneer squad to finish off. Sorry if I bumped into my mic there. Probably the Pioneer is there to actually upgrade to, well, build tier 1. I'm not really certain. Right now, if Cheeky Me Breaky were to actually get the machine guns in a bad position or flank them or mortar them to death, as he will be doing if he continues to get this mortar crew, then Wolfgang Grail is going to be in a pretty much a big pile of trouble. Unfortunately, these riflemen got pretty much caught in the worst possible position and got pinned. At this point, you should just retreat because you see the 2nd machine gun covering the flank of the MG42, so obviously no real way to actually flank with the 2nd rifleman squad, which otherwise could have easily come around and taken out the MG42 team. However, there is a fighting position going up. No munitions yet because the munitions point wasn't capped. That's a bit of a mistake for Cheeky Me Breaky. Leaving that point up is really no good thing for him. He would have had enough munitions for a machine gun upgrade on his fighting position had he actually managed to capture that point. The mortar over here is also a mistake. You should be setting it up somewhere that's actually kind of protected. Over here, as it stands, it's in a very, very easy spot to actually harass. Right now, this machine gun is almost in range for it, and these 2 machine guns, they can just move up and easily get into range of the mortar. He's gonna pretty smartly decide to avoid the side that has 2 machine guns in it and go for the right side of the map. 3rd rifleman squad coming in. Probably a good decision to have more capping power. He needs that at this point because, well, his enemy is always going to have the superiority in terms of, well, just sheer firepower with the MG42, so he needs a little bit of extra mobility. I should actually just get out of Steam. Should I? Yeah, that's probably a good idea because it's very annoying when people just spam me messages. And here comes the machine gun. Machine gun should probably mean that this rifleman squad should stay here and allow for the other rifleman squads to flank. However, there is a Pioneer squad with a flamethrower coming in, so obviously that is not a good thing to happen on that very bunched up and pinned rifle squad. The mortar is actually hitting the machine gun, dealing a lot of damage, but these riflemen are really not flanking in the correct way. However, Pioneer squad going down, really good win for Cheeky Me Breaky. That is the 1st squad wipe. But oh, even worse, coming in out of Wolfgang, taken out the mortar, and that's a very, very bad loss for Shikimibriki. He needs some way to actually regain this mortar. Otherwise, the Grenadier squad over here that Wolfgang just went for will be able to come in and steal it. The machine guns cannot steal it, but if the machine guns can cover the mortar wreckage long enough for the Grenadiers to come in and actually steal the thing, then that's going to be really good for the Germans, and there isn't going to be much of a counter for Shikimibriki. Now, he does have a rifleman squad prime position to actually attack this Grenadier squad in negative cover, but he's not doing it. He's actually shooting at the Pioneers, which is definitely a mistake right now. The machine guns are coming in, and they're going to definitely be a very bad thing for these riflemen, along with the flamethrower upgrade on the second Pioneer squad. Riflemen are still outside of the range of the machine guns. Machine guns desetting up just in time for the riflemen to actually escape, so that was pretty lucky for Shikimibriki, avoiding a wipe on these riflemen just because of that reason. And these rear echelons should definitely come in and take this mortar. I'm not even sure as to why they aren't doing that right now. This mortar is the key to the entire game, because the USF mortar is going to be able to deal a lot of damage to these machine guns. I'm really not sure why Shikimibriki isn't even trying to get to it. He should definitely just go for it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Maybe your guys are going to get suppressed by the machine gun over here. Oh well, that's really no problem. And a lieutenant. I dislike the lieutenant, really. I feel like against MG spam, the lieutenant, especially on crossroads, the lieutenant is not going to be really good. If it was a map that rewards a lot of flanking, then yes, the lieutenant would be good. But crossroads doesn't really reward flanking at all. There's a couple of very, very strict sort of laney areas. There's the center over here, there's the left side over here, and then there's the right side with 2 lanes, this one and this one. So it's really bad before a lieutenant, because the lieutenant really wants to get in close with that Thompson. And also, you should definitely move him out of the base. You should definitely use units as quickly as possible after you have actually bought them. Always remember to, like, sometimes just press spacebar. Right now, nothing's going to happen. I'm just jamming spacebar. As you can see, infantry under attack, spacebar. It brings you over to the notification zone. It's good as a practice also because it's going to bring you over onto areas where your troops are fighting, because obviously the under attack notification. But it's also really good because whenever a unit is built, obviously when a unit will be built like the 720, I will show it to you, you get ported over to the area where the unit is actually being spawned in. So it's really useful to actually just not forget about things. Just sometimes press spacebar. You're not gonna, regret it in any kind of way. Finally, he will go for the mortar, but with a rifleman squad. This is a mistake because the rifleman squad is more expensive to reinforce than the rear echelons. Also, nice smoke grenade coming in for the lieutenant, but unfortunately he wasn't able to do it before the MG got a burst off, and the burst obviously suppressed the lieutenant, so the lieutenant cannot actually do much. He's also running right into the area where the smoke isn't covering the building, so I'm really not sure about that. Now, the M20 is an okay choice to counter the machine gun spam. However, it's not exactly it's really not going to help in the long run because of the Grenadiers that are able to Panzerfaust the M20, thus sort of allowing the machine guns to get shots off, and also because of the fact that 2 of these machine guns are already up to Vet 1, so they have the ability to use the incendiary armor piercing round, especially with this squad in the building. That would be really good for countering this M20, because obviously the fire incendiary armor piercing rounds are incredibly effective at dealing with the M20's light armor. Now, a big problem for this machine gun is the fact that it's being chased by the M20, and of course no Grenadiers are coming in to actually assist. There's only 1 squad, and it's kind of far away. It's going to have to cross a lot of territory to actually get to the M20, and the M20 being on a road gets a pretty nasty speed bonus, especially already being a fairly quick light vehicle, easily able to escape. So good play with the M20, taking out a machine gun squad. Not really too much of a problem for the actual ownership of the machine gun, as it's kind of... What? What is that explosion? Was that a rifle grenade? Okay, not really sure what that rifle grenade is supposed to mean, but okay. And yeah, essentially not really a problem for the ownership of the machine gun because it got killed right outside the German base, so the Germans can just easily come in with a Pioneer and reman it. But it's mostly just the fact that it took out the Vet. Unfortunately, this Vet 2 machine gun is going to be able to escape, probably from the destruction of the building by the mortar team. Yep, in fact, it does look like the mortar team, it even has 2 kills, so obviously that was the doing of the mortar team. Right now, really, Shigemi Brichi, his main mistake is just leaving units around idle. Like, look, Lieutenant idle, Rifleman actually moving, good. Rifleman idle, Rifleman capping, good. Repairing, idle. Mortar, idle. So something like 60% of your units are actually idle, which isn't what should be happening. What should be happening is all these units should be running around the map and capturing. They should be doing what this squad was doing. Because right now, your main deficiency is your lack of map control. Not exactly right now, but is what the lack of map control is what was your main problem up to now for about the last 5 minutes. That is mostly because the machine guns were able to actually suppress you into the base. Okay, I get it. But at the same time, I feel like if you'd just gone for a lot more of a mobile play, sending your units sort of all around the map, all around the flanks, the machine guns would not have been able to cover every possible angle. So he would have been able to actually have a much bigger grip on the map right now. Good play actually right now. Taking out a machine gun and also taking out this Pioneer squad. Right now, Wolfgang definitely seems to be on the sort of lacking side when it comes to actually unit preservation. This M20 should actually just pop smoke as quickly as possible to avoid taking damage from the 222's autocannon. Also, right now, a really big mistake is not taking this MG42. Again, using your rear echelons to reman heavy weapons that were destroyed from the Wehrmacht is a very critical part of the USF versus Wehrmacht matchup, because the rear echelons are very cheap to reinforce, and so having that weapon be recaptured is essentially going to be your main sort of source of support weapons for a while, because usually American players tend to go for a lot more infantry early on, as right now Shigemi Brichi is doing, and as is the correct decision, in my opinion, because really the Riflemen are such a good infantry unit that you'd like having a lot of them, because they can do quite a lot of things. They're pretty good in the early game, and so you'd like to have quite a few. But at the same time, you'd also like to have support weapons to hold terrain, especially when things like this happen and your riflemen do fail to actually capture a point. You'd want to, once you actually finally get to capture the point, to hold it as pretty much for as long as possible, to get as many resources out as possible. And right now, one big problem is the fact that, basically you don't have any support weapons and you could be grabbing them. They're right there. And again, another problem is the fact that units are idle. One way to fix that is checking out on the top right corner of your screen the little icons under the unit icons. Over here, this clock. This clock usually means that this unit has been idle for a long time. So once there is a clock, you want to pretty much get that unit under control and moving somewhere. Nice usage of the bazooka, actually. That was a really good and cute play. He actually grabbed the bazooka as he saw the armored car coming into the base. The armored car was obviously trying to kill either the mortar or this three-quarter ton ambulance. What the? That's weird. He was either trying to kill the ambulance or the mortar. He failed at doing both. That was actually a terrible move by Mr. Wolfgang. Obviously, mostly just because you don't want to charge right into a base, which could have any number of things that could kill your armored car. And even if it didn't have anything to kill your armored car outright, it probably does contain something that can snare your armored car, such as a rifleman anti-tank rifle grenade. Now, good play over here. The machine guns tried to capture the fuel point, but they were repulsed by the fighting position. One of the machine guns got actually wiped by the M20. Excellent usage of the M20, actually, making me kind of eat my words on the lieutenant. I initially didn't kind of like the lieutenant as an option. I would have preferred a captain for the pack howitzer, but I just see that the M20 has been making some good progress against the machine gun spam. However, this is mostly because of the fact that the M20 hasn't really been countered the correct way. The correct way would have been to actually... Ooh, a pack. Interesting. Pack might finish off. No, good usage of smoke, just to be safe. Again, the way that Wolfgang should have gone about countering this M20 is supporting the machine guns with the Grenadiers pretty much at all times, keeping one Grenadier squad around the machine guns just to have the emergency Panzerfaust, and then keeping pretty much a little bit of a low-profile, very defensive play with the machine guns, sometimes having a machine gun cover other machine guns, especially the veteran ones in the rear, so that you can have like some unit that can actually bait the M20 in, and then with the machine gun covering that whole field of fire, using the incendiary armor piercing rounds to actually either force back or kill the M20. That's pretty much the way to actually counter that M20 as the Germans. But Wolfgang didn't really do that, and right now he's going to lose another Grenadier squad in open ground pretty much for no reason. That is definitely a big problem. Right now, pretty decent push coming in with the pack gun. A nice grenade coming in from the lieutenant. Gonna finish off the machine gun probably, along with the support of the mortar, and also probably finish off this pack gun. So again, lots of support weapons that are being provided to you for free. This is basically like, I don't know, like, it's like basically welfare for support weapons. You really need to pick it up. Why not? Like, honestly, there's no reason not to pick up this machine gun, this pack, this machine gun. There's no reason not to pick it up. You should be picking it up right now. Especially, you have 800 manpower. You can easily reinforce any squad. No, don't buy another rifleman squad. Go and grab all these things and buy a rear echelon. That is a mistake. You need to capture the weapon teams, especially the pack gun. The pack gun is the best AT gun in the game, especially when the enemy actually goes for armor. Right now, Wolfgang is making a mistake and going for a second 2 at 15 minutes. Actually, no, 16. That is definitely a mistake. You don't want to be going for light vehicles after 14 minutes. And even then, after 11, it's already a pretty drastic decision. I don't know why I rolled my R over there, but whatever. It's already a pretty drastic decision, as I said. And you don't want to be doing that, especially when the enemy does have anti-tank weapons, such as right now, Shikimi does have 3 squads, 2 of which are equipped with bazookas, and that is definitely gonna be good enough to take out a 222 Scout Car, especially with the support of the other squad, which doesn't have a bazooka, but it does have the anti-tank rifle grenade. There is actually a major on the field for Shikimi, and it's something that I haven't pretty much checked out until now, but it means that Shikimi does have access to the specialty of the rifle company, which is the Easy 8 Sherman. Easy 8 obviously being excellent against both infantry and vehicles, pretty much one of the better tanks that the Americans can get in terms of pretty much just being an all-round good unit. Now, there is a machine gun over here, but unfortunately, it seems that it doesn't have a line of sight. Always check what kind of building you're putting your guys into. Oh god, this Grenadier very close to actually getting killed, but not doing that. And right now, Shikimi decides to throw the machine gun a bone and actually go into the view range of this window, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, always keep in mind the line of sight of buildings. Buildings sometimes don't have windows facing somewhere. For example, this building has windows facing all around, but for example, looking east, it's only got 1 window. So a machine gun, it's going to be fine shooting out from the east, but a Grenadier, nah, don't want to be shooting out of that. So this is just something that you can do. One way to actually learn that is just to go into custom games and looking around, but to be honest, if you don't remember some building, like I really don't have a word for that, but if you don't have the window, a map of the windows of a map, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, you can just look around. Like, honestly, you don't know over here. You want to put your guys there. Oh, is there a window? I can press Alt and rotate my camera. Just looking at it takes a second, pretty much. Now, there is actually a command tank on the field, which is the reason why I feel like Wolfgang isn't kind of feeling the need of going for tier 3 or 4. It's kind of a stretch. I really feel like he should go for a tier 3 right now because he's not going to get to tier 4. It's impossible, pretty much. But at least tier 3, come on. It would be pretty good for him to have at least a normal Panzer IV. Now, the command tank is not going to be meant to fight the Easy 8 head-on. It's going to be meant to support the infantry. And there isn't much infantry at all for Wolfgang because he was mostly worrying himself with getting basically machine guns and then the pack. And then he ended up losing those support weapons. Thankfully, Shikimi has actually gone for the pack, and he's actually managed to steal it, which is really good. Recon coming in from Wolfgang because he's got a huge amount of munitions, which is, well, to be fair, fine. So he's going to be able to see what Shikimi has around. A pretty decent advantage, but not one that's going to make up for the inferiority in terms of units. Definitely not one that's going to make up in that kind of a thing. And really, the main problem right now for Wolfgang is the fact that the Americans do have that Easy 8, and they do have that Tier 4 in general. They just have a tier advantage. So having that tech advantage, having that tier advantage, is going to be really, really good for Shikimi to just have superior units. He's going to be able to use his resources better, essentially. There is a pretty much even split on the map. So the fact that Shikimibriki has sort of sunk more resources onto tech right now is giving him an advantage in the attrition war, because when Wolfgang loses his Panzer IV command tank, he still has to replace it with 360 manpower and 125 fuel, which, as you may or may not agree with me, is a worse investment than the 140. Yep, 140 of the EZ8 and 380 manpower. Slightly more expensive on the EZ8, but the EZ8 is going to give you a much more all-around useful vehicle than the Command Panzer IV. Especially because the Command Panzer IV, you can only have one of them. So it's not really a battle tank as it is a command and support unit, as it says on the name. It's not something that you want to be sort of relying on as a combat power unit. Yes, it's going to give you a lot of damage against infantry. No doubt about it. As you can see, it's doing quite a number of these riflemen. Especially since they are Batu riflemen. They could be doing a lot of damage to it with their bazookas. Boom, squad down. Okay, its short 75mm main gun is pretty damn decent at taking out riflemen. But once the EZ8 comes in and manages to actually avoid the fire of the pack gun, then the Command Panzer IV is going to be basically useless. Especially if Wolfgang does not get a tech structure anytime soon, which he doesn't look to be doing, which is definitely a mistake. He's going to be really not having the just capacity to use his resources. It's not just that he doesn't want to use his resources. He's not going to have the capacity because, oh, what am I going to buy? Wait, I've already bought my command tank. I don't have any actual ways to spend my fuel. It's a little bit of a mistake. Right now, Shikimibriki does actually have a pretty good advantage also in terms of infantry, though. We have to keep that in mind as well, because right now, up until now, Wolfgang, he was trying to rely on a lot of sort of infantry plus machine gun tactics, which is what Germans usually do. But after losing a couple of MG42s, after losing a pack, after losing, I believe, also a Grenadier squad. Let me actually check. Did he lose a Grenadier squad? Yes, he lost a Grenadier squad. Not sure where, but he lost a Grenadier squad. It doesn't really work anymore when the enemy has 4 rifleman squads and a lieutenant. And also a rear echelon with a flamethrower, which is not that useless. It's going to work if both Grenadier squads are in one place and they manage to find one of the rifleman squads. But at the same time, once the Americans can get a good push going on one area from multiple flanks, well sort of concentrated attack, then this amount of units is not going to do. Right now, the Americans have 15 top cap more than their counterparts. They're trying to get a pack duel going. It reminds me of Company of Heroes 1. There was a thing called pack sniping in Company of Heroes 1, essentially because packs were so ridiculously accurate that they could basically hit other AT guns and destroy the weapon. And then eventually they destroy the entire weapon and it would explode and everyone around would magically die. Yeah, that was pretty fun to actually witness. Not very fun when you were using the 57mm for the Americans. That was not very fun to fight, but still, it was pretty fun overall. Second EZ8 on the field for Shikimibriki, and that's just the advantage of having the tech advantage going. Like, you're just not gonna lose at a certain point, because there's only one pack, and there's only so much that one pack can do against 2 EZ8s. Especially when the 2 EZ8s are just charging against the Command Panzer IV with the intent, the very deadly intent of just murdering the shit out of it. Like, you're just not going to survive with the Command Panzer IV, especially if the EZ8 actually makes an effort to go around the pack. Very lucky to actually bounce the first shot from the pack. Very unlucky to get penetrated by a shot from the short 75 of the Command Panzer. Here comes a Stuka close air support from Wolfgang, but the Stuka close air support might not actually finish off the EZ8, because again, the EZ8 is in motion. And if the EZ8 is actually moving, very unlucky there. But yeah, if the EZ8 is moving, then there's a pretty good chance that the Stuka close air support will sort of home in onto a very weird sort of target path and miss. Now, good usage of the second EZ8 coming in from the side and taking out the both the Panzer IV and the 222. If the push had been executed a little bit better, and if the 2 EZ8s had come in basically simultaneously from 2 angles, trying to avoid the pack as much as possible, he would have been able to get the kill even without losing an EZ8. But it's fine. I guess it's fine. Main mistakes from Wolfgang, definitely the fact that he over-relied on machine guns and he kind of tried to push with support weapons a lot, which is not a good idea. It's never a good idea. Partially because support weapons, obviously needing the setup time to fire, they have a bit of a disadvantage already, sort of preemptively, when you're actually trying to move against the enemy. If you're just standing still, you can immediately fire. But if you're moving towards them, you're going to need those 2-ish seconds when you're setting up. Secondly, and possibly more importantly, which is what's happened this match, if you're pushing up with your support weapons and you lose them, then you're also leaving something for the enemy. If you're just losing an infantry squad, yes, you may lose a weapon with it, but that's another deal. But you're just losing something. You're not also giving something to the enemy. Of course, with support weapons, it is the opposite. So this is why usually you'd have a balanced force of infantry to push and support weapons to hold. It is a very basic formula that I feel like every player should know, but yeah, not every player knows. Of course, there's also times when you want to push with your support weapons, but you don't want to be sort of relying on them as your main, main. That mortar shell is about to kill the shit out of this MG42 crewman. It looks really shitty, but that's a mortar shell. Yeah, you don't want to be relying it as your main medium of advance. Cheeky Mibriki, what did... Oh, also, not teching up is a huge mistake. It's not very call-in meta right now. It's not called a meta season at all. Shiki Mibriki, he could have chosen a better doctrine. I'm sorry. If you may actually look at my profile picture on YouTube, you know what I think about Rifle Company. He could have also gone for, I believe, a Sherman. A normal Sherman, yes. I feel like the normal Sherman would have been a better sort of early game... Well, not really early game, but yeah, an earlier vehicle than EZ8. Because at the point when he realized Wolfgang was not going to go for a tier 3 or a heavy vehicle, which, to be fair, it wasn't exactly a foregone conclusion. Like, he did good at actually going for the EZ8 because it's a better overall vehicle. But in the context of this match, if he had actually managed to read what Wolfgang was doing, a Sherman would have been better, because the Sherman with its HE rounds is really, really powerful at taking off support weapons, especially packs, and also infantry, so it would have been great. Also with the smoke, can EZ8 actually smoke? Yes, it can. Never mind. I was thinking that the EZ8 could not smoke. Riflemen upgraded with bazookas are okay. However, I feel like rear echelons of bazookas are much better, and riflemen with bars instead are really the key for the Americans. Mostly because of the fact that you're going to be paying a lot for riflemen. So having them use the bazooka against vehicles is a job that usually entails quite a lot of dying. And you don't want your more expensive guys to die. You want your cheaper guys to die, so your rear echelons. Also because of the fact that the riflemen, once vetted up with the bars, they do have quite a lot of anti-infantry bonuses. For example, vet free, more weapon lethality. I'm not sure what that is supposed to mean. Probably accuracy. Yeah, probably accuracy. Durability, aka received accuracy, whatever, that's always useful. And then ability range, that's really weird. And then over here in Vet 2, weapon control under fire is essentially accuracy. So it's really, really good to have upgraded with 2 bars and vet-free riflemen, because they're going to be pretty much just as effective at long range as the Grenadiers with LMGs. Maybe not when the Grenadiers are vet-free, but that's a story for another time. Definitely at close range. But with the rear echelons, if you do have an anti-infantry weapon on them, you just get the increased squad to size. So it's really not that great. The second one, yes, okay, weapon control under fire, that's probably accuracy. Again, the warning of those things is just absolutely terrible. Not sure why we just cannot have the listing of the actual stats, but whatever. You're going to have a squad that has 5 men once they're vet-free. And what's the quickest way to actually get vet? Especially on a squad that doesn't have a lot of anti-infantry firepower normally, such as the rear echelons? Well, to hit vehicles, essentially. To do damage against vehicles, because doing damage against vehicles is usually much quicker a quicker way to actually contribute to your veterancy. So then you get the vet free 5-men rear echelon squad with 2 bazookas, and they're pretty great against armor because they're pretty durable, and when they die, it's really no problem because they're very cheap to reinforce. So that's pretty much my main reasoning. Those are your 2 main mistakes. Everything else was good. So I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you soon.